It's 1980s heavy metal time. Here we have an officer of the Imperial Guard, and this one in particular is known as a commander. We know this because of the title at the bottom there. He also has the name 401,005, but I think that's more likely to be the model code, although knowing the Imperial Guard, it could well be his serial number. This commander is wearing a lovely looking peaked cap. Imperial Guard officers have been wearing these since their inception and still wear them to this day, although I feel it's mostly the commissars that wear them these days, or certain other YouTubers.
Those pesky Iron Warriors keep breaking down our fortifications.
I'm not sure I could get away with wearing one of those myself, so I'll just stick with this thing. Our commander is wearing one hell of an awesome golden breastplate. It's the sort of thing I would like to wear myself down to the local Sainsbury. This one is nice, as it has an Imperial Aquila embossed on it. There's also some little semicircle tassels on the bottom that probably have a name, but I've no idea what it is. An armoury expert would probably know. Something a little unusual is that this officer is carrying a rifle-style weapon instead of your typical pistol and close combat weapon combination. This particular rifle is a lasgun, and it's not just any old type of lasgun, no. This is what we know as a Ryza-pattern lasgun, one of the best patterns of lasguns there ever was. Sadly, we don't see much of them these days, if at all. I do, however, need to know about this gentleman's sunglasses. Are these built into his helmet, or are they a separate piece? I always assumed they were built in, as so many models had them wearing sunglasses like these. I suppose it's also possible the sculptor found sculpting sunglasses easier than actual eyes, and therefore used them wherever possible. I can see the shadow of something attached to this guy's back. Is that a buster sword like Cloud from Final Fantasy, or an ironing board perhaps? Or is it just something simple, like a cape? Over the years, I've really enjoyed the Final Fantasy games. Just recently, well I say recently, in the last couple of years, I played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I really liked. Sadly, I still haven't gotten around to playing Final Fantasy XVI. I did play the demo they released, and I didn't really enjoy it. I thought it was a bit boring, so I never bought it and never played it. The only new Final Fantasy I've never bought and played. It just felt so different. Have any of you guys played Final Fantasy XVI? What do you think of it? Is it any good? A Reaver Titan now, watching some interesting looking vehicles roll by, and sadly, he doesn't recognise them, and neither do we. I don't know what they are, kit bashers probably, but if you have a better idea, let us all know in the comments below. This Reaver Titan hails from a Legio that I don't recognise. It has a blue and camouflage scheme that I can't identify, and also what I think might be a Legio icon on his crotch flag, which again I don't recognise. If you know which Legio it does belong to, then please let us all know. Speaking of the camouflage top plate though, that was actually standard from Titans in the early beginnings of Adeptus Titanicus and was standard for all Legios, and it would be cool to see a modern rendition of it. All of the tanks and the vehicles in the picture are black. Black, but with no Legion iconography, so we have to guess who they might be. My first guess would be Sons of Horus or Black Legion, but they could quite easily also be the Iron Hands or even the Raven Guard. I doubt they're Iron Hands though, as nobody would ever want to paint an army of those boring Marines. The gun tank in the foreground there is a conversion, I think, or rather a scratch build. I don't recognise what the chassis is made from at all, but I think the gun is probably from yet another Zoid. The missile tank machine thing beside it is the same, It has the same chassis and everything, except instead of a big gun, there's a pair of missiles. I would assume again these are from one of the old Zoid kits. The chassis do have tank tread details, so I will assume they're from little tank kits or something. There's a cool little tin hut thing on the top of a rocky outcrop there too. It looks like it could perhaps be either a well or an exhaust of sorts. Maybe it's above a huge underground factory, and that would be pretty interesting. Well, this is interesting, isn't it? For a moment there, I thought we were looking at an old photo of my old mother-in-law-to-be. But then I realised this demon looks civil and clean. This demon is, of course, a Nurgle Great Unclean One, although calling them mother-in-laws is a fair name exchange, I feel. What would the name of a demon opposite to a Great Unclean One be called? A demure clean one? A tiny little demon that's very well groomed indeed. Kind of like Fulgrim, I suppose. I feel I need to see it. This here Unclean One is the first iteration of the Great Unclean One miniature family. You can tell it's actually quite small for something that's allegedly great. The newer ones these days are huge beasts, but I still like the character of these old sculpts though. The head of this chap is quite bull looking to me, and I reckon it's those horns. But apart from that, he also has a very big alien-like tongue. A tongue with a face on it. Is this its own separate character? I hope so. The torso is the same as it always has been, or should we say will be. Just a big chunky body. They also have these funky elephant type legs. Now, fun fact, my cousin always called the doner kebab spit in kebab shops elephant legs and tried to tell everyone that's what they actually were, and we never fell for that one. But I do, however, quite fancy a kebab now. This Great Unclean One is unsurprisingly covered in nasty looking red pustules. What is it exactly that causes these? Dirty, infected fly bites? Or is it just part of a disease, like the plague? Or maybe it's a bit of everything. Rancid. Here we can also see the beginnings of a trend towards goblin green basing. So these are exciting times indeed. Everyone's a fan of the goblin green basing style, right? I need to figure out and find out just when goblin green basing became the standard. Apparently it comes in a cardboard box. When was it that every single model had to have a goblin green base? It must have been around the time of just before 2nd edition 40k. Maybe it was 4th edition Warhammer Fantasy. Maybe that was when the floodgates opened. Also, was it a sort of gradual thing where more and more models became goblin green based? Or was it just like an overnight thing and they said, as of tomorrow, all miniatures will be goblin green based? Who knows? Anyway, if you fancy chatting goblin green basing or anything else hobby related, then please feel free to come along and join us on our friendly Discord server, which is not behind a paywall. There's a link to it in the description below, and I'll also stick one up here for you too. We look forward to chatting to you there. And here we see a young Reaver Titan taking her babies out for a walk amongst the ruins. Who knows what dangers lie in wait for this young family? Oh, it's pretty hard to do a David Attenborough accent these days. Didn't someone get done for that a few years ago? Anyway, the Reaver Titan here has a quite nice looking colour scheme. It's like a red with a beige or bone coloured bit. Is this the scheme of Legio Atarus? I'm not the greatest at identifying Titan legions. I only know the obvious basic ones. The Titan has an absolutely huge purity seal attached to its top carapace. The wax seal part is the size of one of the Dreadnoughts' torso. Imagine how much wax that would take to make. Also, on these giant purity seals, is the text a normal size, allowing for a really long passage? Or do they use a bigger font on bigger parchment pieces? I need to know. There are lots of little dreadnoughts dotted about the piece. These guys were the original designs used before the plastic Contemptor variant that came along a little later. I think these ones were known as the Rod, Jane and Freddy, or something like that. These dreadnoughts are in a red colour scheme, so we can assume they are probably Blood Angels, although they could just as easily be Thousand Sons. I myself really like the look of the scratch-built terrain in the background. I think it looks really good. We can see it's kit bashed and made up of bits from various sources. Are any of you able to recognise any of those parts used? Interestingly, for a diorama, these miniatures bases have either been removed entirely or just covered over. If they have been covered over, I can imagine this makes quite a bit of mess when you're stripping it back down to go back into the cabinets. Doesn't sound like a fun task, although setting it up certainly does. Now this gentleman used to run a shop in a little town near where I used to live. His name was Titch, and he was a lovely chap. I would recognise that eyeliner anywhere. Wonder what he's up to these days. Now, I'm no fantasy miniature expert, but I don't think this is an off-the-shelf miniature. I think it's a conversion or kit bash of sorts. Whatever the case may be, he's definitely of the Chaos persuasion, and as to which god he fancies, well, I think it's Slaanesh, and I don't blame him. I need to take a moment and ask you to have a look at the top of this gentleman's head. What's going on there? Is that a yellow starfish, or is that a tuft of blonde hair? Or is it a yellow tinted Slaanesh scarification? Also, it looks a bit like those bug things from Star Trek. On the geezer's chest armour is an interesting looking design. It appears to be some sort of strapped up man arching forward as if he's being prodded from behind. It looks suitably nasty and evil for a chaos decoration, and well done to the sculptor on that one. The weapon he's carrying is something we don't see a lot of in Warhammer, a whip. Maybe this guy is a corrupt Indiana Jones. Anyway, this particular whip has 3 prongs or tongues. Do the tassel bits on the end of a whip have a proper name? Is there a whipping community out there who might know the answer? The other weapon is a little more common, a sharp thing on a stick. What is this exactly though? It's too big to be a sword. Is it perhaps a halberd, or is it just an ornate spear? Also, he has a lovely little pouch attached to it, and a bell. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling! Now, fun fact, I have a tiny little bell attached to my push bike. You ding it with your thumb. No, it's on your left hand. Snakeworks Jr. absolutely loves it when I give pedestrians a good old dinging when I drive past them at high speed. He thinks it's great. Now, speaking of things that are great, if you're enjoying this video, then please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. That means you, Terry, or Terrence. If you are enjoying the content on the channel, then please consider joining us on Patreon, the link to which is in the description below or up here somewhere. Or you could even become a channel member, which is all the rage these days. Again, there's a link to that in the description below. This is a nice miniature, isn't it? Well, if you were unaware, it's actually an Eldar Striking Scorpion Exarch. Or is it Exarch? The Eldar have recently been rebranded the Eldari, and I'm not sure what I think of this change. It feels a little unnecessary, to be honest. I would imagine there is a proper reason, and if you know what it is, let us all know in the comments below. The Eldar's face looks a bit angrier than usual. I think it's the red beak, a little different to the Eldar faces I'm used to. I would imagine this is because he's an Exarch, and they take things a lot more seriously than your usual run-of-the-mill Eldar, and are therefore more likely to be grumpy, and want grumpy looking armour, maybe. Anyway, Usually, I find Eldar striking scorpions to be painted in a lighter, more bug-type green, which I think is fitting for their insectoid inspiration. This guy, however, is painted in a much darker green, going from an almost black Dark Angels looking green, highlighted up to the more pale green. I do, however, think it looks nice, which makes me think, do Exarchs like to wear darker schemes than their followers? The Exarch has some nice looking weapons, both a pistol and a spindly looking chainsword. Both of these have been painted in a very light gold bronze colour, which I think looks very nice. Does this pale gold have a proper name? The striking Scorpion Exarch has what we all know and love as the Goblin green base. These were very popular in the mid to late 90s. I'm not sure exactly when they were brought in or even phased out, but it was definitely a phase. A wonderful phase. A phase people still talk about to this day. Some incredible miniatures there. Which one of those was your favourite? If you want to see some more Oldhammer Eavy Metal themed videos, then check out the playlist up here somewhere. And as always, thank you very much for watching.